Good evening, Banger Racing fans, and welcome to Cage Full Throttle. I'm Ed Fahey, and this is our first show of 2020 and a new decade. What changes will come in the Banger Racing scene between now and 2030? We've plenty of time to find out. But before we do all that, let's meet our two panellists. He's doing James Keen's job tonight, so I better be nice to him. It's Jordan Hollins.
Thank you, Ed. Yes, I'm Mr. Technical Advisor tonight, so you will owe me a beer next time you see me.
So what you're saying is you're basically race scrutineer and clerk of the course and chief marshal, right?
Yes, so if you want to pass and for me not to dock you, then yeah, I'll have a nice cold pint, please, mate.
No worries. I'm just going to use my usual do you know who I am. But anyway, in the other corner, it's Don Brock.
Nice to see you again. Good to be back. Good to be in New Year with some new bangers to discuss. 3 big meetings on the cards tonight. Good to get that talked about and look to how the coming year's going to be.
Very much so. Well, yeah, as Don mentioned, we basically had the first 3 big meetings of the year done and dusted. Had the Heavy Metal Classic at Stan Lake, with the Civil War at Hensford, and with the Icebreaker at Kings Lynn. So we'll go to Stan Lake first in the Heavy Metal Classic. It's usually for a long time it was the first big meeting of the year, and it was also one of the few meetings where you literally got hundreds of cars. Like it used to be, say, 150 and need 250 cars. But there was an awful lot of photographs put up. It seemed to be a good meeting, apart from being very cold, but it's January, so what do you expect? Jordan, any thoughts on it then?
Yeah, it looked like a really, really good meeting. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but from the videos I've seen and what everyone thought of it, who was there, yeah, people seem to think it was the best one for a few years, and the general consensus was, yeah, it was a very, very good meeting, and yeah, the National Banger season kicked off to a very good start at Stan Lake, which, you know, being the home of the Caged Open is obviously what we like to see.
That's good. I mean, it's Stan Lake as well, so it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a bit of fun, and usually people are just there to blow the cobwebs out. Hasn't been doing much over Christmas, so let's get back into it. Dom, you were always going through all the photographs. What were your feelings?
Well, it was another good turnout. 202 cars from what the records say. A lot of nice stuff there. There was some good racing as well. You know, some good big appearances by Bro in the micros. He did a lot of hard work throughout the day. Good to see the Zafira limo back out again, and the Insignia under different drivers. I think the Insignia was, but you know, that was good to see that out. And some real hard action. Liam Lake, one of the best follow-ins of the day. I think Taylor Souter also getting thoroughly wrecked and snapped at the front end from one of his hits. It looked really solid, and it looked like a good day out. Again, I'll have to do Stan Lake one year. I have never thought about doing an HMC. I might come up for the cage meeting, obviously, but yeah, an HMC's never really caught my eye. But you know, with meetings, you know, with a performance like this, it's really starting to look more promising, and something that I may consider in the future.
I think the HMC's been probably one of the most consistent meetings throughout its history. I think it's been going now for 20 plus years, and I think it's always got a good entry of around 200 cars, and even still nowadays in the modern times, you know, a lot of drivers still make an effort. I know that a few decent bits of material, yes, I know there may not be as many nowadays, but it's good to see that the drivers still care about the meeting and they're still willing to put on a show. And, well, edits like you said, you know, it's like perfect post-Christmas blow out the cobwebs meeting.
It was a one improvement on last year. 201 was last year. Yeah, it is incredibly consistent, and it's got some of the records, the highest turnouts, and long may it continue, because it's the real best way to start the year, and really gives you a good idea of what's to come.
Yeah, and it's always just a good meeting, good start to the year too. So, scene went well. Of course, for a lot of people now, the traditional start of the year is the annual North versus South Bash. Now, 20 years of Civil War, so you know, it was basically North won for a few years, then the South won. Then they said, right, if the South win, it goes South. It did to Arena Essex for an extremely good Civil War, but then they decided to stick in Hensford because it's pretty much in the middle of the country. It's probably the most centrally located track. Jordan, you were there. what's to say?
Yes, I was there, and well, Civil War never disappoints. You know, it was always going to be a thing going into the meeting. You know, will the North extend their lead to, you know, open up a 2-point gap, as it were, or would the South pull one back to, you know, make it 1 point again? And well, thankfully for us Southerners, that was the case, and it was a very, very good meeting. Lots of hard hits, as you'd expect, and it must be said, a lot of incredible pit work as well. I think, you know, 570 Jordan Cumming from the Tanks Southern team deserves a lot of credit for getting his Mercedes back out on track for the Tanks final and DD. Jamie Pole as well, from, you know, being that one Northern soldier who was willing to take the fight to the Southern Army in the Tanks DD, when, to be fair, he needed to win it for the North to take it into the last race of the day. And there was just generally a lot of other very, very good performances. It must be said, I think the North were the stronger in the infantry division. I think the Light Brigade and Tanks was pretty much dominated by the South, but it must be said, I think it was probably one of the most evenly contested civil wars for a long time, going into the final 2 DDs, so the Tanks DD and the Light Brigade DD. It was still up for grabs, and well, I know it was getting quite tense on the terraces where I was stood. I don't know what it was like for you, Dom.
Well, I was running around, I was doing, a lot of people know I might have been doing work for Speedworth TV that day, but I had a lot of time around, you know, places that I wouldn't usually be allowed, so I was up in the comm box. I actually knew the scores going into some of those final heats, and it was tense. I mean, the pendulum swung in the North's favour very suddenly after what had been a mostly Southern-dominated day, actually. Other than the first heat where the North trashed the South in the Light Brigade, the South came back with quite a vengeance, and it was then, as we got to the the infantry DDs and the finals, that things started to turn back in the North's favour. As you say, the North definitely the stronger side in the infantry and the Mondeo class. They really did put some solid hits out. I mean, I sat with you in the second heat of the the infantry division, and that was probably one of the most solid heats of the day. Unlimited, though, is where the day was won from the South. Obviously, again, talking about pulling out cars, the video of lesson how to pull out a Merc E-Class estate by Jonesy is out there online now. They did an amazing job getting that car out, considering how bent the roof was in the final, getting that out for the DD. And yeah, it was it was a really good day, very tense at times, and a good first Civil War in my case. I've never been before, and it's definitely something I really want to do again. Yeah,
definitely. I think, you know, me and James have said it before when we've talked about Civil Wars on previous podcasts. It's a special atmosphere in which you can boo a driver that you'd maybe normally cheer. There's a bit of banter on the terraces, and drivers are willing to pull out cars that they had otherwise may have loaded up. And, well, Dom, you've said it there perfectly. Jonesy was on one all day, and he got absolutely wrecked in heat number 2. I think he got hit by Gareth Griffith's limo, was it? Or was it someone else? I can't remember now, but...
I was going to say, I can't remember, but there was a few big hits that went in on Jonesy. I think Gareth Griffith's limo spent quite a lot of time broadside to the circuit. The other standout performer I might like to quickly point out, because you said it at the time, was Mick Maskell, the new world champion. He was absolutely, as you say, he was on one all day as well, and he didn't hold back. He had a fresh Scorpio for that meeting, beautifully painted, not a reuse of an old car like most of them out there. And yeah, he went absolutely berserk and ended up taking home a car, which certainly I don't think would be able to race again at all. It was a complete mess by the end of the day, and it was a top performance, really showing that he did deserve that gold roof.
Yeah, definitely. I think you know, world champions. It would have been easy for Mick to turn up and try and rod and get the points for the Southern Army, but he showed a true never say die attitude. As you said, Dom, he got well and truly stuck in throughout the course of the meeting. You know, whether it was a bit of rear suspension damage, a rear puncture, you know, understeer going into turn 3 at one point. I think he nearly actually hit the Armco, but yeah, counter steered that with some beautiful oversteer. He was just great to watch all day. And yeah, he took home a rather wrecked Ford Scorpio. The full album is up on our Facebook page, and obviously there's loads of other photographs from the Civil War, so if you haven't seen a picture of Mick's car yet, go and take a look, because it is a rather bent Scorpio, shall we say.
Well, this is good. I mean, it was part of the sign-up to the army, both armies, the generals Stu Kersley for the north and Paul Adams for the south. They basically said, you're here to do your best for your side. If you're going to load up and go home because you have a bent steering arm or your engine's missing on the cylinder, don't even bother coming. So I mean, the sheer fact that, you know, everyone was willing to resurrect the fairly badly bent cars for one more lap, even if it's just literally to be something to get in the way in the DD. Even if you're literally crawling along, you can't even put it into second gear. If you're there to get in the way or make sure that your team win, every little helps. I know it's a terribly cliche thing to say with Civil War, but there's an awful lot of team tactics get thrown into it too. Like you usually say, whoever's the hare, whoever can drive quick, drive around everything, you put them into the race because you know they're going to win and clock up the points. But they need a supporting cast too. It's a bit like American football, really. You need to defend the team, you need to protect the team as well. But as always, it seemed to be a good meeting. It was nice to see the South win, but it's nice to see any team win because it's an event that's won on both sides of the track. It's won on the track and it's won in the pits, but it's also won in the stands because, I mean, you know, the support and the cheering, all that, it's all part of it. It's what we want to see, really.
The fan interaction, sorry, just to say, the fan interaction was something that I don't really... It was something different that day. I mean, having two stands either side of the circuit, obviously, I'm used to hearing the big cheers at Ipswich on World Final Night, and it had a similar atmosphere, if I'm honest. But hearing the fans cheer for North and South, it was really interesting seeing which sections of stand were cheering or people on the banking. And it really was, although, you know, it's almost... You know, it's a war. You know, it's one versus the other. There was a real sort of nice spirit going around of we'll get you again next year. You know, if one didn't win, it was going to be we'll have you again the following year. And I think that's why this meeting in general has such a big and lasting longevity with people, because it's one which people always come back to. And it's, you know, it's literally, as I say, we'll get you back next year. It's a case of, well, this year might not have gone our way, but you know, we'll have the motivation. We'll come back and we'll be there to beat you next year.
And I think that's the thing with Civil War, you know. I know Ed just said it as well. It doesn't matter what team wins. All that matters is that it's a good meeting. Everyone enjoys themselves. All the drivers go home safe and sound. Because, you know, the last thing, obviously, is we want to see his drivers get hurt. But most of all, a lot of money's raised for charity because... obviously, Civil War is still a charity meeting. The winning army does still donate, I think, £500 to a charity chosen of their choice, and I think that sometimes gets hidden in the heat of the moment, you know, with all the banter going about and all the excitement that Civil War brings. But I think it's important to remember that it's all for a good cause, and long may it continue. Yeah,
very much so. And then that leads us on to the third meeting we talked about, the Kings Lynn Unlimited Icebreaker, which is, or to give it its proper name, the UK Unlimited Open Team Championship. You've 6 cars per team. Dom, you were there.
Well, this was an interesting day. This, again, my first Icebreaker, and this was one which was a rather late call from me. I initially had an idea of going to the Little Icebreaker, but at the point where... yep, subtly put in there. Yeah, my original intention was to go to that because the track record for the Unlimited meeting was sort of going downhill a bit. numbers sort of floating around the 80, 90 mark with the micros being added in to fill the day out. But for whatever reason, it still baffles me how this meeting became as big as it did this year, because I don't see any way different how Trackstar promoted it, and I don't see any sort of extra promotion. But we got a turnout which was more than anyone could have imagined. We had to scrub the juniors and the micros off the original billing, and have it as a proper icebreaker all throughout the day, all bangers, all good fun. It was a real good show. Highlights of Tin that got brought out. Just going through my images as I say that. Kieran Bowman with really nice, I think it was Lincoln Yank as a limousine. Got quite a lot of used stuff out there. The Glads had a fresh limousine as well that was supporting us on the day as well, driven by Splat. And I think the big one which appeared on social media the most, Sauter Filmers, Lump, Taylor Sauter bringing a Caprice estate, I believe, with the rest of the team bringing a 1949 Chevy and a 2010 Ford Mustang, one of the first times possibly in the sport, maybe ever, I'm not sure on that one, that one of those has been raced. Certainly the first time I'd ever seen one.
I'd say definitely, and probably, I'm not 100% sure, but it's up there as one of the newest Unlimiteds ever raced, because it's what, 9-10 years old max?
I think, obviously, we've had older shape Ford Mustangs race before. I think Pee Wee raced one at Firecracker, and then one of the Continentals brought one over for the Unlimited World Final at Ipswich, I think, in 2015. But as Ed said, of the newer shaped Ford Mustangs, I believe that is a first for the sport.
Yeah, and I'd say before all the classic car people got up in arms, I've seen photographs of the Chevrolet before it was raced, and this was basically something that the most car stores go, nah, too bad. So an awful lot of restoration, as we call it, was done. And I'd say for the Mustang, it could have been anything, fire damage, accident damage, flood damage even. But it's the first modern shape Mustangs race. There's been a few who say the original 60s and early 70s Mustangs races. There's been a few Mark IIs. Then there's been a gluttony, probably because they were good cars. Like the old Fox body ones, I haven't really been seeing much. But I'm sure our good friends at Northern Bangers will be able to tell you how many Mustangs have been raced. But it was a good meeting as well. The Shale and Unlimited Rear-Wheel Drive always seems to go well. But we had the resurgence of a well-known battle, which raged from the mid-80s, probably until the early 90s, we'll call it. Our two Northern Armies, again, the boys in blue and the boys in pink. So Stinkbridge and Blues boys re-emerged as teams that really genuinely don't like each other on the track. Of course, in pits they'll help each other, but on track they don't like each other. Tom, what were your opinions on that?
Well, as I was saying before we came on air, it was something which I'd never really seen before. They were well before my time, and they're things that their rivalry is definitely something that is only on DVDs, in my opinion. But so again, I made a comment throughout the meeting. I think we got 2 heats in, and we'd had some good action out there. There'd been some good drives, and there was a little bit of action between the pairing. But I didn't see what all the fuss was about. They weren't savagely attacking each other like some teams do today, and it looked just pretty standard to me. And I said to my friend who I stood next to, these two, what's it all about? And then lo and behold, they come out in the third heat and absolutely demolish each other right in front of my eyes. They're opposite and causing chaos. A few hits, which were really quite savage.
Well, they obviously heard you, Dom.
I know, they must have heard me. Some really good performances out there. Good to see Ricky Finney. He was out in saw him week prior in the Civil War in the micros. I personally think he's much better suited to the Unlimiteds. He had a good day out, attacking quite a lot of the Blues Boys people. Noon, another one to mention. He was also on one for quite a lot of the day. Actually, as well as those two teams attacking each other, a lot of the other boys got stuck in as well to have a go. The Sauter Filmer team were getting involved with the Blues Boys and the Tinkbridge. The pick of the day, which I think most people have seen at this point, is the attack between Stinkbridge and the Warlords team. of where the limousine ended up looking rather much like a convertible, and the Mercedes on the side. Yeah, sorry. The Mercedes was the car that did the hitting. Sorry, it was a Jag Hearse. That was it. Yeah, it was a really good day. There's some old names coming back. Really good to see them. Yeah, I look forward to seeing that more in the future. If that's going to become a more permanent fixture, and if they reappear as some of the heaviest hitters on the track, more pleased. I'm more than happy to see them, warring at each meeting and entertaining crowds with the action that they're renowned for in the banger world. It's the hype going into this meeting was so large they had to deliver, and they sure as hell did.
Well, this is, Trackstar just seem to be very good at running big, unlimited meetings. Whatever it is they do, it just seems to work very well, which is why they do get the good turnouts. Just looking at the team standings at the end of the day, it was Team Extreme A who won, and I believe is that a hat trick for them?
That's the third year in a row, yeah. Credit to Johnny James and Buddy James. Them two really know how to pedal an unlimited around Kings Lynn. I think I posted it on Instagram as well. You can expect to see a lot more of them two at Kings Lynn this year, I think. I know they both love the show and they love to throw the Mercs and Toyota Supras around there. So yeah, if you're at Kings Lynn this year, look out for Team Extreme.
Yeah, we'll just go through the top 5 on the day. It was Team Extreme A, then the Outsiders, Team Black A, who didn't have an exactly brilliant day in the pace. We'll come to that in a second. Your Team Grey and Black B in 4th, and then our favourite team, the Gladiators B in 5th. The Gladiators actually scoring points, but these are the ones getting the Entertainers points. Now, that was the championship points. You also had the Entertainers League. Now, pretty much every team got in here somewhere. I think every team scored Entertainers points. We'll just go through the top 5 very quickly. You had Predators A, Team Stinkbridge A, Shunters A, Team Filmer Souter B, and Team Stinkbridge C. They're your top 5 entertaining teams. I think those points actually go towards the Trackstar Entertainers League as well. Entertainers is much about crashing, but it's also about resurrecting the bundled up balls of tinfoil in the pits, and also bringing a nice car, bringing a nice paint job will score your Entertainers League as well. So again, Trackstar seems to just seem to have the formula right. That's the main thing. But I think Team Back A were the favourites before the meeting, but unfortunately Jack Overy in his Jinx Crown State, he spent most of the meeting looking for an engine, unfortunately, so that's usually a treat when you go to King's Lynn watching Overy just literally ballet would be the proper term to use, literally sliding the rear drive car around like you've never seen. But hopefully, as he says, they'll be back. They always come back. If any more to say on that one, or we'll move on, chaps?
Sorry, who's first?
No,
Jordan.
Sorry, Dom, I was just quickly going to say that I know you said about Team Stinkbridge and maybe Blues Boys, racing together again. We do have the Sheffield Unlimited team meeting on the 3rd of May, and I believe there's 2 teams of Stinkbridge already confirmed for that. So, Blues Boys, if any of you are listening or listening at a later date, it's all up to you guys. Do you fancy round 2 or not? Because I think this is a big year for Sheffield now. We'll get onto this later as well, but obviously we're pleased to see that Bellevue hasn't gone. But I think it's time for Sheffield to really show how much of a good track it is. For the unlimited bangers as well. I know the Bushcraft 1 fan base really like Sheffield, so the 3rd of May could be quite an intriguing little fixture.
Well, again, they'll just be resurrecting old battles then, Stinkbridge Blues Boys. It's good too to see that a few of the older drivers there, and the Holmes brothers, Psycho and Alco, they don't really get too much. Psycho, Andy Holmes had a great run, very well renowned driver, retired in style, but he's always said he might come back someday, so who knows. And same with the Blues Boys, Noon, number 200, Steve Farrell, he was always at the forefront of the team. Pretty much was the team at one stage. It's good to see him still putting race in, and then obviously bring a few young drivers too. But don't forget as well, you'll have the Skegness Unlimited team meeting as well. So we'll see how we go there. But we'll stick with the Trackstar and Kings Lynn discussion for now. very recently, actually, they've announced the regulations for the pre-75 meeting. Now, this basically is the follow-on from Stoke Stan Woods, because unfortunately we've lost Stoke now, but the meeting will return to Kings Lynn. So they've announced the classes on the obviously unders and overs, which is under 2 litre and over 2 litre, but some cars which are over 2 litre are allowed to run in the unders, and then the other way around as well. They've announced the engine swaps as well. This seems to be a bit of contention with an awful lot of classic car meetings. I recall back in my day, as Barry Lee would say, in the Hansford Pre-68 means you weren't allowed to have engine swaps. So in other words, you had to run a Jaguar with a Jaguar engine, you had to run a Rover with a Rover engine, run a Morris with a Morris engine, that kind of thing. You could have a few little swaps in there, but you weren't allowed to put V6s or Pintos or anything. It had to be the original engine. So if it was a fast engine, good. If it was a slow engine, it wasn't that good. And given the track that Hansford was, you needed a bit of speed as well as longevity. But we'll just very quickly go through it. So they said for the engines in the unders class, you're allowed an original engine, which is fine. You're allowed to put Ford engines in. This is a reasonable rule. You can put a Kent, Crossover, or Pinto in. Like keep it old school in the way, or a Z-Tech or a Duratec up to 1.6 only. But they says, regardless of what Ford engine you're using for a swap, it can't be a larger capacity than originally fitted the car you're using. And then the overs, they said, let's be realistic. Lots of people no longer have a traditional V6 that haven't blown up. So modern day engines will be permitted in the overs now. It's a bit disappointing for me. I used to love the straight six rasp of the Jag engines, the Triumph engines. So even just you get a few V6 as well in the Mark and Granadas and that. But they still said the engine you use will still be no larger than the original engine. And they'll move on one more a little bit. The important of what cars they can use. All cars built to National Bank of Rules, fair enough. Now they've given a list of cars you're allowed to race. Now we won't read the whole lot out because we're here all night, but it's on their website, stockcarracing.co.uk. They're trying to get a few, they're basically trying to support cars that you might normally see. So they've also said if you have a car you're not sure about, just contact them, because Trackstar will give you a straight answer. They've been running meetings with this for a long time, so they know who's in and what's what. But Tom, you're a bit of a classic car buff. What do you think of this?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to this. Had my Austin still been here, I would have definitely entered this in. Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a really interesting day. With these regs being released, it gives drivers the clarity and time to prepare an appropriate car. My hope is this really, although not Stan Woods by name, it does bring in the spirit of what that meeting was about, and it really does bring in the numbers and the fans that went to those that kind of meeting. And yeah, I say, I'm really excited for that one, making sure that I've got nothing on, and I'm going to devote my weekend to that one. Hopefully it should be a good day, and I'll be hopefully on the podcast talking about it when it happens, because I'm going to have an SD card full of pictures for sure.
Well, that's good. I forgot to say as well, it's on Saturday, the 25th of April, starting at 5:30, and it's the same as the Stan Woods. The heats will be nudge and spin, so it gives a few of the older guys and the older cars a bit of a chance. And then with the final all-comers, depending on how many cars you've left, and then the destruction derbies are full contact. So what I found with the classic car meetings is they tend to ramp up as the day goes along. But it's always been an interesting meeting. I hope to do it myself. Jordan, have any thoughts on this one? I'm sure the whole classic car meeting is probably, you've seen enough of them, but what do you think of the changes that Trackstar have implemented here?
Well, I think, as you said earlier, after Stoke sadly closing at the end of last season, I think it was important for the sport to still have that pre-75 classic car meeting on show. And I think Trackstar are getting it absolutely spot on at the moment. I think, personally, running the more modern engines as well as the older engines allow drivers that little bit of leeway. So if they can't find a car or they can't find an original engine that runs, they can use one of the more modern engines to put in it. And then what Trackstar will do is they will split up the older engines and the newer engines. It's worked for them before at the All Granada meeting a few years ago. So, yeah, I think, well, as Dom said, it's probably going to be one of the contenders for meeting of the season. Bookings don't open till March the 1st, I believe, so we're still going to have to wait a little while for that first booking list. But I know when the meeting was announced at the back end of last year, a lot of people are very, very interested in it early. So, yeah, keep that one for your diary, because it should be a good one.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say,
very quickly. Sorry, Ron.
Just to cater for all audiences, 1300cc stock car British Championship also been added in support, so that should really round off the meetings. Stock cars usually proving very good round lens. So
I was going to say, I saw the 1300cc stock cars at Kings Lynn last year in support of the East Anglian Championship, and I have to say they were absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, with the British Championship being there, I believe, is it Lee Pearce or Jimmy Morris that currently hold that title? And obviously Lee Pearce won the World Championship player last year. So, yeah, as you said, that's set to be an all-action, all-night type meeting. Perfect mix of classic bangers, full contact national bangers later on, as you said, Ed. And then the stock cars as well.
Actually, what I was going to say was what Tom said, is that the shale is a great leveller. It's much better than the tarmac pit for the older cars. And don't forget, too, that's back in the day before every track was tarmac. Most tracks were shale or dirt or whatever, so it's going to have a real throwback. But moving on, now this is the part that Jordan has decided I should be doing for some strange reason. But it's basically just what's happening on this side of the Irish Sea so far this year. DMC Race Promotions have announced their meetings. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth into them. They've announced 7 national bar meetings for the year. What's most exciting about this is 3 of them are unlimited. So it's the traditional season opener at Agadoobie Oval, which is a good track for bangers. It's the 2-litre National Bangers 2020 Irish Teams Championship, teams of 4. Usually gets a good turnout. It's usually Mondale Fest, but there's a few more interesting cars coming out in that one because for some reason Mondale's here are starting to dry up. They're not as common as they used to be, unfortunately. Moving on to the Easter weekend, you have the Michael Bangers Spring Classic. That's a Tully round. And then in the end of May, 31st of May is the big one. It's the Unlimited National Bangers Shamrock 2020. Usually get a good turn of that, 40 or 50 cars, which is a lot for Ireland, unfortunately. Then just over a month later, Tully Round, you've the Micro Madness, Michael Bangers 3-a-side team meeting. Then just over 2 months after that is Unlimited again. It's the King of Crash 3-a-side team meeting. And then the one that's got most people talking over here anyway is on Saturday, 31st of October. It's the Irish Championship, which used to be for 2 litres or Mondales, but this time it's for Unlimiteds. So this is really a lot of people talking. Obviously, this is what people here wanted, sort of promotion they've given to them. So Unlimiteds for the Irish Championship, covered the covered roof, the covered green roof. Who needs gold when you can have green? And usually that will get you a place on the Champions grid if that meeting is to happen. But that's not really for discussion right now. Then a month after that, you have the 2-litre National Bangers again. And then to end off the year, the big bands. Now, other Irish meetings have been announced at the Leeward meet in Nuts Corner in March. There's bookings for that slowly coming in at the moment. If you look at Nuts Corner's page, it'll give you a better indication of who's booked in for that. But just at the moment, three or four drivers coming across in the UK. Hopefully that number will go up. But it is usually a good meeting. It's had a good time too, and nothing else seems to be happening. But we'll move on again. There's been an awful lot of toing and froing lately in the fortunes of tracks. I'm kind of happy in a way we didn't go on the air earlier this month, because all we would have been talking about is Birmingham Mills Raceway. It's closed and now it's open again. It seems to be open for the season, which is excellent. But at one stage, it genuinely did look like the track was going to close down. Bellevue was another one, but we'll speak about Birmingham first. Jordan, what's your feelings on it? Do you feel it was all too much too soon, or people jumped to conclusions far too quick?
Well, firstly, obviously it's great for the sport that we haven't lost another venue. And I believe I'm right in saying that the council are now on record saying if they want to evict all the businesses and sports in the future, they must find them an alternative venue. So, touch wood, hopefully, if, the land does get redeveloped, we will have another track, with the council finding another venue. But no, moving on back onto your question, sorry Ed. I don't think people jumped to conclusions too quick, because I think it was all but confirmed by various outlets, people within the F1 stock cars community, and in car racing speedway, that Birmingham was indeed in trouble. And I know that Philip Bond done a hell of a lot of media work with the BBC in Birmingham. Obviously, we had the petition as well to Birmingham Council to try and save the track. And I believe it's got another 12-month extension. But like I said, I think the future long term is looking better than it was. Maybe just before Christmas. So yeah, absolutely awesome news. I cannot tell you how happy I was, how delighted I was, not just for the stock car community and racing community, but also for the people that do rollerblading there at the venue, go-karting, off-roading. It is probably, I'm right in saying that it is the only venue in the UK that now does skating for all ages. And I know that the Birmingham Wheels Park as a whole is widely loved by the community. So yeah, well done to Philip Bond, because you really showed true grit there.
Yeah, I'll say Philip Bond was, of course, when back before Speedo took over Inca Race, he was basically the main man of Inca Race. He was the man making it all happen. Dom, any feelings on that one, or just all good?
It was more surprise than anything. The way everything in the sport has been going, as much as sound like doom and gloom, the way everything's been going, I naturally assumed that this was another one gone, and that this was going to be the end of Birmingham. We weren't going to have a champion of champions anymore. Certainly, as much as this is a banger podcast, it was quite popular with the hot rods and the briskers. I thought that was that gone, and then thanks to some amazing work behind the scenes, not a huge amount I think people are aware of. We managed to save a stadium, and I think that's an achievement which I don't think has ever been done before. I mean, Bellevue has been saved for now, but again, I think that's a ticking clock that will eventually run its course, I'm afraid. But it's interesting. This coming year, there's a lot of speculation about tracks, new and possibly going. So it's interesting, and I'm pleased Birmingham is still there. It means I can at least make a visit before it goes. Let's see how it unfolds going forward.
Well, who says it's going to go? I mean, the 12-month extension, so let's just stay positive about it. But it's been announced recently. We're just looking at this very briefly because it's only been announced. There's nothing actually happening just yet. Oddsall Stadium at Bradford may be reopening. Just at the discussion stage at the moment. If it happens, great, but we'll just keep an eye on it with interest, because we don't want to speak too much about it, because unfortunately it may not happen. But again, it needs to be positive about the sport. Yeah. And any venue reopening is good. I think the way it's gone nowadays, you probably won't get another brand new track opened ever. So I think Tullyroll and Lochgelly may go down in history as the last new brand spanking new track to open. But if that's all reopens, all the better, because some of the videos I've seen from the past are looking short of amazing. Really, really good track. But moving on, again with the positivity, I know a few people may have gone to the Autosport show at the NEC in Birmingham on the same weekend as Civil War, and they noticed very much a glut of short oval cars. There weren't any bangers at all. There's only a few hot rods. There was a couple of brisket 401 and 403 stock cars. The reason this is happening is a few things really. I mean, people obviously want to break over the winter, just at the cost of taking a stand or taking space at the show, which seems to be going higher and higher. But there was a new event launched last year in Peterborough called Motorsport with Attitude. This is basically just a short a short oval only version of the NEC show in Birmingham, and it was an absolutely tremendous success because it was pretty much everything that people wanted, everything there. Now it's been announced it's happening again this year. It's Saturday, February the 1st and February the 2nd. So that's literally 2 weeks from now, actually. It's at the East of England Showgrounds in Peterborough. Did any of you two guys go last year, or were we just looking and seeing what happens?
No, unfortunately, I didn't go last year. I couldn't make it for whatever reason. I can't remember now. But yeah, as you said, Ed, the NEC show in Birmingham, has become more based around circuit racing. I know this year we got a couple of FTs. I know Luke Wrench had his new car on show. Ollie Spencer, the V8 Hot Stocks World Champion, also had his car on show. And you also had the F1 stock cars in the live action arena. But it's really, really good for us as the short circuit oval racing community to almost have our own mini NEC, and that's what Motorsport with Attitude does. I know last year they had their own mini arena. I believe there was also RC stock cars and bangers. There was loads of stands. I believe even British touring car driver Matt Simpson was there with his Honda Civic Type R touring car. So yeah, it just looks absolutely brilliant. And to be honest, as we were saying with the whole situation with tracks, surely anything that helps promote the sport in a positive light can only be seen as a good thing. So yeah, I believe you can still. I believe you can still get advanced tickets. So yeah, go check out Motorsport with Attitude if you're in and around Peterborough on the first weekend of Feb.
I'm actually just looking at the website now. I got it wrong. It's actually 8 days, 11 hours, 47 minutes. And as I say, it's 23 seconds away at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even compare it to the NEC anymore. This is basically a different motorsport show, obviously with Attitude. But there's not an awful lot of things to see. I mean, you don't, if you're not necessarily into bangers or hot rods, you can go. But no, it looks good. I mean, it's a good lineup of stuff. We'll see what happens. It looks to be good. Like Jordan said, if you can go, support it, because it's only a good thing. But there's some news coming in, unfortunately. We're just jumping back. Thanks to Tom for spotting this one. Tom, the news.
I was gonna broach something about MWA, but I'll go on to this first. This has just come on while we're on air. I was just perusing Facebook and noticed the Star Treks have made an announcement regarding the 1600cc banger class. That's being changed by the looks of things for all Star Trek drivers. I think they're upping it to under 1800cc. So I'm not sure what changes that is. Again, I haven't read the message in full, read the post in full, but I believe that is to do with national spec.
I think basically, reading between the lines, it's rookie spec moving up to full national spec. Because obviously, evolution of the sport, as we say, rookies obviously started off with nudge and spin, push and shove, but obviously people wanted more. So in a way, B2 back to basics has replaced rookies in what you get out of the sport, which is fine. We've no problem with that at all. But yeah, we're back to
Sorry, it's very much taking the direction that Kings Lynn, they don't run rookies anymore, they just run small.
I was going to say, so is this technically Trackstar's version of 1500cc national bangers, which I believe they run once a month or every couple of months or whatever?
I'm not, but they're what they've stated in this post is that they're trying to make it a regular-ish fixture. Trying to fit it in on the calendar where they can, try and make it a bit more, to fill the gaps of the rookies. It'd be interesting to see how that all plays out. We'll have to give some more detail on this in a proper post at some point on the page, because I'm literally skim reading and going off what I can see here. But it looks to be an interesting move, and hopefully one that will pay off.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, again, what the drivers want, the promoter give to them, so that's all we need. But sorry, before we were so rudely interrupted by the incoming news, you were about to say something about Motorsport Attitude, Tom, or?
Yeah. I'm intrigued by this. It's really good to see. I know a lot of people going at this point. There's promoters, there are drivers, there are media groups that are all related to short oval stuff, and they are all going along and making the most of this weekend, especially since there's been such a reduction on the autosport side of things. And yeah, we're very much making this our own, I think, as a community. With bangers there, fresh and wrecked, I think, and all the other formulas that race around short ovals. It's really good to go along. Unfortunately, I can't go this year, but again, something I'll have to do in coming future. Action Arena that they've got, that'll be something that's exciting for most fans, even if there's only so much they can do in this makeshift arena. But it'll be a good day out for anyone who goes. And let's say I would encourage anyone who's into short oval racing to go along as well, simply because it is a celebration of our sport and very much something that we want to promote going forward.
Oh, totally. I mean, anything positive is good. Anything that's got good reports after only the first year is very good, really. Move on. We don't have any fixtures. Well, we've fixture lists coming in at the moment, so most cars are getting together. Usually, most of the speedworth ones they need to have a big discussion to see what fits in where. But I've already discussed the Irish fixtures. Jordan, you've been combing through all the list there. Is there anything really that sticks out so far this year, or is it just a case of giving it a week or two until everything appears?
Well, I think we already have some very exciting meetings to look forward to, some even coming up in the next couple of months. I think the Mark Mitchell retirement meeting at Ringwood Raceway has a very exciting looking booking list with a lot of Dutch and Belgian drivers coming over for that one, and drivers from all over the UK. Ringwood's a great track, I think, for unlimited national bangers. So yeah, that one should be a good one. And another meeting I've picked out is the Mildenhall Back to Basic and National Mondeo Teams Weekender. This one is for charity. It's for a little boy called Joe, who is unfortunately very, very ill, but the little soldier he is, very impressive young man, is fighting his way through it, and he's battling away. But there's already over 250 back to basics booked in for the Saturday, and I know people are already shouting, "No, they're back to basics. Cage just loves them." But if you're not getting excited about a 250 car banger meeting that's all in aid for charity, that has some of the sport's biggest names, has drivers coming over from Holland and even America. There's an American driver booked in as well. Then I'm sorry, but I think your head really needs a wobble. And on the Sunday as well, I think it's being run to old school teams, which back in the RDC days was a permanent fixture on the calendar. And there's already 17 teams booked in for that as well. Again, including we've got a Dutch team, got Midnight Runners, Barton Boys, Gladiators booked in. So, I believe it's the last weekend in June, the weekend before Ipswich Speed Weekend. So that for me, straight as I heard about that meeting at Mildenhall, my eyes lit up. As we said earlier with Civil War, it's for an absolutely great cause as well. There is an event for it on Facebook, or a page that you can like. It's called Joe's Mildo Weekender. That's where all the booking list is. All the information as we get closer to the meeting will be posted on there as well. So yeah, go give that a like. But I think for me, those two stand out at the moment. But obviously, I love stock car racing in general, so any meeting I go to, I'll enjoy.
Just quickly to add, I also know I've seen it posted once, but I don't think this has got enough attention. But the legendary Rob Porter will be on the mic that weekend as well, and I think that's something I'll bring.
Oh, that's it. Go, just go. The king of commentators.
The king of commentators, indeed.
He was, because he he just really gets into it. He gets excited. So he's
That's what we love.
At the
his lungs make up for his small side.
Yeah. At the final Arena 6 Firecracker, I was lucky enough to interview Rob up in the commentary box before the meeting for a bit of uni work, and I have to say that is probably one of my favourite memories that I've ever had in stock car racing. Just as you said, Ed, his sheer enthusiasm for the sport and his pure love and admiration for it as well was something really, really good. Through the few negative times we've had this year, it was just amazing to speak to someone who's very passionate and, well, as we've all said, a very, very good commentator.
Yeah, he's right up there. Yeah, Dom, which fixtures would you be looking forward to this year from the dates that we have so far?
Well, I'm sort of looking more short-term for now. You can't really look too far ahead with the limited numbers. I mean, there's the big ones that have already been announced. We've discussed some of them already today. I'm just sort of looking over the coming weeks, between our next podcast, probably. I mean, so the important ones that spring to mind, an underrated little track and one that's been in the limelight quite a lot recently, for possibly the wrong reasons. Swafford's having its last ORCI weekend. On the Saturday, they've got, I believe, 100 back to basics booked in. That's probably, I think that's their record that they're looking to beat. That should be a good evening. That's starting at 12 on the Saturday, and then 12:30 on the Sunday for the final meeting, as they're calling it, which is a rookies meeting. Junior rods, ladies bangers, old school super stocks, ninja sprint cars. That's looking quite good. I have to be. What's the word? I have to give some fairness and say the owners' new meeting as well. Obviously, the change to non-ORCI, but their first meeting is on the 1st of March, 12 noon start, and they've got a big long list of formulas that will be racing there. Again, we'll have to see how that turns out. Got my fingers crossed for them. Again, just having a look around. Obviously, the second icebreaker, the little icebreaker, as I called it earlier, coming February 2nd. That will be starting at midday as well. And the first Eastbourne meeting of the season is also coming soon. That's this Saturday, 5:30, back to basics ice scraper meeting with junior microstocks and stock rods in support. I think this. I think it will have happened. The older shop BWS round will have also happened by the next time we have a podcast. I'll be going to that one. So very much looking forward to see how the BWS season starts and whether it can capitalise on what was, I think, rated one of the better seasons of the BWS last year.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll probably do have a bit more discussion next time what fixtures, because most of the big ones are out now, but it's always the small, the surprising ones. You mightn't think much of it at the time, but you got it. That was good. So
yeah, I was going to say,
should have been a few other.
You can never discount a domestic. I think it was the Unlimited National Bangers National Championship at Birmingham. You had 11 cars booked in, and people thought it was a rod fest. Only for the Silver Boys and Orison Stacey to have a massive wrecking train on the home straight in the opening race of the night. And I think I said at the time, never judge a book by its cover, never judge a banger meeting by its booking list. So keep an eye for the fixtures of all the promotions, Star Tracks, In-Car Race, Speedworth, and of course your independent tracks, because in the height of the season, when we get into June, July, August, there's always going to be a meeting on somewhere in the country. So please do support all tracks across the country.
And support them by actually attending rather than giving out about them on the internet. Not a lot of negativity lately, so let's make it better. But yeah, I think we've pretty much covered what we're going to cover this evening. It's only the start of the season, starting a new decade as well, so I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about in 2030. What'll be the unlimited of choice, what'll be the hundreds of choice, what's the newest cars that have been raced at the time. But I think we've covered all we've wanted to cover for the evening. So it's a big, massive thank you to Jordan Hans, mainly because one, we didn't give many views, but two, he was actually doing the James Keane role tonight, which is basically running everything behind the scenes. So thank you very much indeed, Jordan.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you everyone for listening. I hope the podcast went all right. Obviously, we're still live at this point, so I'm yet to check. But yeah, thank you very much to you and Dom as well. It's been a pleasure.
And speaking of Dom, thank you very much, Dom. Always been one with the more calm and calculated approach to it, but sometimes you need that too. Thank you very much, Dom.
No problem at all. It's good to be here as always.
All right. And that just calls it for the evening. I'm Ed Fahey. Thanks for listening to Caged.